Do you ever have that moment when you finally are at the appointment and maybe you've waited weeks or even months? You probably sat there rehearsing what you were going to say because you knew you wouldn't have much time. You explain what's happening in your body. You try to be concise. You leave little pieces out because you know you don't want to sound scattered and you know there's a time limit. And despite all of that, the words that come out of the doctor's mouth, let's just wait and see. Something in you breaks a little bit. Maybe there's anger, maybe there's panic, but there's probably also that unsettled feeling that you can't clearly put words around. But I bet it feels like this. Okay, but what exactly are we waiting for? And I want to be really clear here because there are times when a wait and see approach is appropriate. That's actually what makes this so confusing. You see, when wait and see is used correctly, it means the problem has been identified, possible interventions have been discussed, and the risks and benefits of intervening versus monitoring have been weighed. And then the decision has been made that the risk of acting now is higher than the risk of watching it evolve. That is not lazy medicine. That is cautious medicine. But that is not what most people are experiencing. Because most of the time when somebody hears wait and see, none of those variables have been defined. Here's why that happens. Appointments have a fixed container, an allotted amount of time that they can continue for. Not because doctors don't care, but simply because insurance reimburses based on the number of appointments in a day, not the length of those appointments, which means the entire financial model of doctors' practices is built around moving people through the system, not pausing and sitting with complexity. So that means if your case is straightforward, it works fine enough. But when your symptoms don't line up neatly in a row, don't fit cleanly in a box or a potential diagnosis, or it's simply something that is unusual, hard to pin down, not necessarily within that provider's wheelhouse of things that they deal with, it means that the story is going to take time to assemble. A good solid plan is going to take time to figure out. And what happens is those two constraints bump against each other. The visit starts to run out of time before the thinking for that level of complexity is finished. So what happens next is not actually a decision at all. It's a deferral. Not because your provider is malicious. I think a lot of times this actually happens without the providers even being consciously aware that this is the path of deferment is actually what's being chosen. It's because this unresolved complexity, there has to be some sort of, it's a forced premature closure. And wait and see sounds reasonable enough to have that be the end of the visit. It sounds like a plan. But here's the tell. If no one can tell you what you're waiting for or what this approach was chosen instead of, then nothing has actually been decided. Let that sink in for a minute. The investigation hasn't concluded. It's just been paused. That's why you leave the appointment feeling off, because you didn't go to the doctor for reassurance. You went because something in your body is not right. And when that concern doesn't get addressed, it doesn't just sit there quietly. It keeps going, creating new symptoms, causing other body systems to have to compensate with the disease process that is going on unchecked. Waiting might be appropriate after you know what you're dealing with, but it is not safe to give time to an unknown assailant. If the smoke detector is going off in your house, you don't wait and see why. You investigate first so you can decide whether any further intervention is needed. Sometimes it's a false alarm. Sometimes it's the warning you're grateful you didn't ignore. But you don't skip the investigation, no matter what the time crunch is. That's the distinction that people keep skipping over. This is not about waiting versus acting. It's about defined waiting versus undefined deferral of diagnosis. Delaying action can be appropriate. Delaying diagnosis is not. And once you see how often time pressure quietly turns uncertainty into deferral, it becomes very hard to accept "let's wait and see" as a complete answer when the picture is still unresolved. And when you're sitting there in that moment, when you've said all of your things, the appointment is running out of time, and the doctor is trying to walk out of the room and gives you a "let's wait and see," it can be very hard to find the words that keep the conversation going in that moment. That's exactly why I created Words That Work. It's a short guide with specific written phrases, scripts that you can use to reclaim your power in those moments. You don't need to argue. You don't need to diagnose yourself. You just need the words that work to bring the focus back to what hasn't been explained yet. It's a free script book. You can download it in the link below, screenshot the pages, print it out, and bring it with you. Just make sure you have it there. If you leave with nothing else here today, please know that wait and see is not a complete answer when we don't have a diagnosis yet. You're not crazy. You're not wrong for wanting more. You're actually paying attention. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.